The baby's fine, but what I'm seeing on the screen. My name's Joe, 37 years old, Marine. Just got back from Kandahar 2 weeks ago after an 8-month deployment. I was sitting in that sterile exam room in Phoenix, watching my wife Melissa get her ultrasound, when Dr. Bradley Richardson's hand started shaking like he'd seen a ghost. "Sir, you need to leave immediately and call a lawyer." The words hit me like shrapnel. Melissa was lying there on the table, ultrasound gel still glistening on her belly, looking back and forth between the doctor and me with confusion all over her face, the same expression she'd worn a lot lately, like she was always trying to read my mind. "Is something wrong with the baby?" I asked. My voice stayed steady. "Military training does that to you, keeps you calm when everything around you is collapsing." Dr. Richardson wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. He'd been practicing for 20 years, judging by the certificates on the wall. This wasn't his first ultrasound, but his face had gone pale, and he kept glancing at the screen like it was showing classified intel. "The baby is fine," he repeated, then leaned in close and lowered his voice. "But what I'm seeing on this screen shows 32-week development." The room went dead quiet except for the hum of the equipment. Melissa was still smiling, still pretending everything was normal. She'd been doing that a lot since I got home. Pretending. 32 weeks, I said. "Yes, sir." I did the math in my head. 32 weeks ago, I was loading gear onto a transport plane headed for Afghanistan. 32 weeks ago, I was saying goodbye to my wife at Sky Harbor Airport. 32 weeks ago, I was sleeping in a barracks tent on the other side of the world. Dr. Richardson watched me, waiting for a reaction, maybe an explosion. But I just sat there, processing it like a mission brief. "Joe," Melissa said, her voice small. "What's wrong? Why does everyone look so serious?" I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. The way she'd been checking her phone non-stop since I returned. The way she talked about the pregnancy like it was some surprise gift. The way she'd insisted on scheduling this appointment when I could be there. She'd wanted me present for this moment. The realization settled in my chest like a cold weight. I met Melissa 6 years ago at a barbecue in Tempe. She was a dental hygienist with a laugh that could fill a room. I was stationed at Luke Air Force Base then, before my transfer to Camp Pendleton. She said she'd always wanted to marry a military man, that she respected the sacrifice and service. We married 3 years later in a small ceremony at her parents' church. Nothing fancy. I'd deployed twice during our marriage, both short tours. She handled it well, or so I thought. Sent care packages, wrote letters, kept the house running. The kind of wife other Marines envied. When this Kandahar deployment came up 8 months ago, she cried real tears at the airport, hugged me tight, and promised she'd be waiting. "I'll keep myself busy," she said. "Maybe take some classes, fix up the garden." I remember thinking how lucky I was. The first month overseas, we talked every few days on video. She looked tired, stressed about being alone, normal stuff. By the second month, calls got shorter. She'd started evening pottery classes at the community college, said it relaxed her. By month 3, I was mostly getting short texts, "Busy day at work. Miss you. Everything's fine here." I figured she was coping. Military wives learn to build their own lives. It's survival. When I got home 2 weeks ago, she seemed different, nervous. She'd gained weight, blamed it on stress eating, started wearing looser clothes, said she hadn't been feeling well, maybe a stomach bug. Then last week she told me she was pregnant. "I found out a few days after you left," she said, crying happy tears. "I wanted to surprise you when you got home. I'm about 10 weeks along." 10 weeks. I'd been home a week and a half by then. She'd already scheduled the ultrasound, wanted me there for our first look at the baby. Our baby. I'd felt proud, excited, like maybe the deployment had been worth it, coming home to this. Now I was sitting in a doctor's office watching my wife lie on the table while the timeline fell apart. Dr. Richardson was still waiting. Melissa kept asking what was wrong, her voice rising. I could feel something breaking inside, but my face stayed calm. Training. 32 weeks, I said again, more to myself. Dr. Richardson nodded. His hands had stopped shaking, but he kept glancing at the door like he wanted out. Sir, I have to ask, were you present for conception? Melissa's face went white. Not confused, caught. Joe, I don't understand what's happening, she said, but her voice had shifted to panic. What does 32 weeks mean? I stood slowly, back straight, shoulders square. It means I was in Afghanistan when this baby was conceived. The room went completely silent. Even the equipment seemed to hush. That's not possible, Melissa whispered, staring at the ceiling, hands trembling. I told you I'm 10 weeks pregnant. I got pregnant right before you left. Dr. Richardson cleared his throat. Ma'am, the fetal measurements are very clear. This is a 32-week pregnancy. Conception would have been approximately 8 months ago. I watched her face as the lie crumbled in real time. She'd miscalculated somewhere, lost track of the timeline while trying to sell the story. There has to be an error, she said, sitting up, paper crinkling beneath her. The ultrasound machine or something. But I was already thinking about Trevor Williams, the neighbor who'd helped with yard work while I was gone. She'd mentioned him a few times, fixed the fence, moved furniture. Good neighbor, she'd called him. I was thinking about the calls that got shorter, the late pottery classes, the way she'd insisted I be here for this appointment. She'd wanted me to see the ultrasound, believe I was the father, commit to raising another man's child. The cold weight spread through my chest. Not anger yet, just clarity. The kind you get when everything suddenly comes into focus through a rifle scope. Dr. Richardson, I said. I need copies of everything, measurements, images, the report. Joe, what are you doing? Melissa's voice was rising. You're scaring me. I looked at her. 6 years of marriage. 3 years believing I knew her. 8 months sleeping alone in Afghanistan while she slept with someone else. I'm getting the facts, I said. Just like any good mission requires. I could see in her eyes she knew it was over. The drive home was quiet. Melissa filled the silence with explanations that made less sense each time. Maybe they mixed up my file. Medical mistakes happen all the time. The machine might be calibrated wrong, computers make errors. We pulled into the driveway. The house looked the same, desert landscaping, red tile roof, basketball hoop I'd installed 3 summers ago. But everything felt different. I parked and sat there while the engine ticked. Joe, please say something, she said. You're making me nervous. I looked at her. Really looked. The weight gain, loose clothes, avoiding certain positions since I got home, all made sense now. When are you due? I asked. What? If you're 32 weeks, when is the baby due? Her mouth opened and closed as she calculated. The doctor didn't say exactly. 8 weeks, I said. 32 plus 8 is 40. You're due in 8 weeks. We got out. The house smelled like her vanilla candles. Smelled like home, but it wasn't anymore. It was a crime scene. In the kitchen I poured water and looked out the back window. Trevor Williams was in his yard working on his motorcycle. Mid-40s, divorced 2 years, construction worker. Had helped Melissa move patio furniture while I was gone. You want me to make lunch? Melissa asked, trying to sound normal, voice too high. How long have you been sleeping with Trevor? I asked. The glass she was reaching for slipped and shattered on the tile. What did you just say? I turned. You heard me. Joe, that's insane. Trevor's our neighbor. He helped with things around the house, that's it. I can't believe you'd accuse me of that. But she was backing away, body language of someone caught. The baby is yours, she said, voice stronger. I don't know what that doctor thinks he saw, but the baby is yours. We'll get a second opinion. I knelt and picked up the glass shards. Sharp, clear, like the truth. Melissa, I said, not looking up. I've been trained to gather intelligence, read situations, recognize deception. This isn't Afghanistan, she snapped. This is our marriage. This is our life. I stood and dumped the pieces in the trash. You're right. In Afghanistan, when someone lies, they're usually trying to kill you. Here, they're just trying to destroy your life. She started crying, ugly, desperate tears. I love you, she said. Whatever you think happened, I love you. I walked past her toward the bedroom. I'm packing some things. Where are you going? To get a lawyer. Joe, please. We can work through this. The baby needs a father. I stopped in the doorway. The baby has a father. It just isn't me. I spent the night at a motel near Luke Air Force Base, cheap but clean, familiar from training. At 0700 I called my lawyer, Stephen Parker. Former Army, handled our house purchase and wills. Good man who understood military life. I explained everything, the ultrasound, timeline, math. Jesus, he said when I finished. I'm sorry, brother. That's rough. I need to know my options. First, DNA test to establish non-paternity. Second, document everything, ultrasound report, communications. Third, prepare divorce proceedings. What about the house? Arizona's community property, but infidelity can affect division, especially if marital funds supported the affair. We'll need proof. After the call I drove back. Melissa's car was gone, probably at work, pretending normal. I let myself in and went to the home office. Drawer held bills, statements. I'd never had reason to look before. What I found made it worse: credit card charges at restaurants I'd never visited, hotel in Scottsdale, men's clothing size large, I wear medium. Phone bills with hundreds of calls to Trevor's number starting a month after deployment. Worst was a receipt from a women's clinic in Tempe 7 months ago, prenatal vitamins, pregnancy test. She'd known almost from the start. 7 months to plan how to pass the baby off as mine. I photographed everything. Evidence. I was putting papers back when I heard her car. She came in early, looked surprised. I thought you were staying somewhere else. Came for some things. She set her purse down, eyed me carefully. Have you been going through my stuff? Should I have been? Her face confirmed it. Joe, whatever you think you found, there's an explanation. I showed her a photo, the restaurant receipt, dinner for two on our joint card 5 months ago. Explain this. I took my sister out for her birthday. Your sister lives in Tucson. She was visiting. I swiped to the hotel receipt. Explain this. Silence. Swiped to men's clothing. And this? She sat hard on a kitchen chair. The fight drained out of her. How long? I asked. Joe. How long have you been sleeping with Trevor? She put her face in her hands. It's not what you think. How long? Since about a month after you left, she whispered. It wasn't planned. It just happened. 7 months. Almost my entire deployment. The baby? I don't know. It could be yours. The timing, Melissa. She looked up, mascara streaking. What are you going to do? I was already heading for the door. Stephen's office was 20 minutes away. I slid the printed photos across his desk. He reviewed them methodically. This is comprehensive, he said. Credit cards, phone records, medical receipts. How are you holding up? Functional. He nodded. He got it. Here's the plan: file for divorce on grounds of adultery. Arizona allows fault-based and you have clear evidence. Court-ordered DNA test for non-paternity. Petition for return of marital funds used for the affair. What about the house? With this evidence, we can argue for disproportionate share. Misuse of marital assets matters to judges. How long? Depends if she contests. If she's smart, she'll settle. If she fights, months. I left with a folder and a court date 3 weeks out. Papers would be served at her work tomorrow, professional, no drama. That evening I went back. She was cooking dinner for two, hope in her eyes. I made your favorite, chicken and rice. I filed for divorce today. The wooden spoon clattered to the floor. Joe, please. Can't we talk? There's nothing to talk about. The baby isn't mine. DNA will confirm it, but we both know. She turned off the stove. What do you want? You want me to beg? Fine, I'll beg. I made a mistake. I was lonely, scared, Trevor was there. Terrible mistake. 7 months isn't a mistake. 7 months is a choice. I love you. No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 7 months sleeping with the neighbor while I was getting shot at in Afghanistan. I was going to tell you, after the baby was born, I was going to tell everything. You were going to let me raise another man's child for 18 years and tell me afterward. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. I'm staying at the motel until this is settled, I said. Papers tomorrow. Get your own lawyer. Joe, wait. What about us? Our marriage? I looked back. There is no us. There hasn't been since you decided to sleep with Trevor Williams. I left her standing over cold dinner. Outside, Trevor was in his driveway working on the motorcycle. He looked up as my truck started. Our eyes met through the windshield. He looked away first. The courtroom was small, sterile. Judge Patricia Hernandez presiding. Melissa sat across the aisle with her young, expensive-suited lawyer who looked uncomfortable. Stephen had everything organized: phone records, credit cards, hotel receipts, ultrasound report, DNA results, 0 probability I was the father. Your Honor, Stephen said, the evidence clearly shows the defendant conducted an extramarital affair throughout the plaintiff's deployment, used marital assets to support it, and attempted to deceive the plaintiff into believing he was the father of another man's child. Her lawyer argued infidelity was irrelevant to division, but Judge Hernandez had seen it all. The court finds the defendant's actions constitute a significant breach of the marital relationship and misuse of marital property, she ruled. Plaintiff is awarded 65% of marital assets, including the family home. Defendant is ordered to reimburse plaintiff for all marital funds used in furtherance of the affair. Furthermore, defendant is solely responsible for all costs related to the pregnancy and birth, as the child is not the plaintiff's biological offspring. Gavel down. Final. Outside, Melissa caught up. Joe, wait. I stopped but didn't turn. I'm sorry, she said. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. I looked back. Her belly was round under a loose dress. In 2 months she'd have a baby with no husband and no father stepping up. Sorry doesn't bring back 8 months, I said. She nodded and walked away. 3 months later I signed final papers at Stephen's office. House was mine, accounts divided as ordered. Melissa had moved back to her parents in Ohio. Trevor lost his job. Word spreads fast in Arizona's defense-heavy construction community when you sleep with a deployed Marine's wife. His ex-wife learned during the proceedings and hit him with a settlement modification. He moved to Tucson, trying to start over. I kept the house 6 months, then sold it. Too many memories. Bought a smaller place near the base, clean lines, no history. I had my truck, my savings, and a hard lesson about blind trust. Kandahar taught me survival in a hostile environment. Coming home taught me survival in another kind. My CO offered another overseas tour. I turned it down. Wanted stateside for a while, to figure out what came next. Some evenings I sit on the porch and think about the alternate timeline, the one where I believed the lie, raised another man's child, never knew the truth. That version of me would be living a life built on deception. I prefer the truth, even when it's ugly. The military taught me clear intelligence leads to better decisions, in war and in life. Melissa's deception failed because she underestimated simple mathematics and a Marine's commitment to facts over fiction. Sometimes the strongest revenge against betrayal is simply refusing to participate in someone else's lies.